Senior class photos.
Oh, mine are real good. Mine are all black and white, artsy. I had a makeup artist.
Mine are not good even a little bit.
I had a
Mine
I,
are really bad.
I had a can I speak to your manager haircut because I just broken up with a boyfriend,
Amazing.
the stacked bob.
Amazing. I had really bad eyebrows, and at the time I was working at the Gap. So, like, I always wore khakis for some reason.
Because you worked at the Gap.
Yeah. So, like, the fact that there was a phase of my life where I wore khakis on a regular basis is, it's not something I'm ashamed of, but I'm not exactly proud of it either.
It's not on your highlight reel.
It's not on my highlight reel. I mean, khakis are fine. Khakis are fine for other people.
If you work at Target, khakis are a huge part of your wardrobe.
You have to wear khakis.
Yeah, and I'm not mad if you work at Target.
Listen, I don't play golf. I just don't I don't work at Target. I don't shop at the Gap. I have no business wearing khakis.
I just went shopping, not for khakis, by the way, and just real quick.
I was gonna say, wait a minute.
Are bullshit. I was at a consignment store, which is where I get most of my clothes because, you can get cute stuff for really inexpensive. And so I get a bunch of stuff that's like probably my size, and it's all either like, oh my God, this is for one of my thighs, not two, or it's the tint.
Yeah.
I didn't find a single thing, and it's all the same size, but it was either swimming or ridiculous. Like, this is junior sizes, child sizes.
It's even that way within the same designer. Like, there's this one yoga brand that I get their leggings, and I'm like, I never know what size to get because sometimes I get a small and it's so tight I can't even it's like putting on nylons. I'm like trying to put on freaking tights, like actual nylons.
Yeah.
Like pull them on over like my fucking giant sausage legs. Or they're like huge and they're like baggy in the waist and baggy in the crotch, which means no camel toe, which I don't appreciate.
Right.
But it's the same size and it's from the same company. Get it together.
How about when's the last time you wore nylons?
When I lived in Baltimore, I would wear them often with like dresses and stuff in the winter.
Okay.
But not like the flesh colored ones.
Pantyhose.
Yeah, like black ones with like patterns.
Yeah, this is tights.
Are those tights? Those aren't nylons?
I don't know, maybe they are nylons.
I did just get a pair. Let me tell you what. I just got a pair of like really wide fishnet to wear like underneath like torn up jeans, or with shorts. They're very hard to put on.
Yes, they are. I've seen where people are wearing them high waisted.
That's what I did.
Are you doing that?
Really cute. It's really cute, but you can't pull them on. There's nothing to grab onto. There's no
Yeah.
There's all holes.
Yeah, you have to take the same approach as you do with a nylon, where you start at the bottom and then you just sort of gradually skim up.
It's about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
To put them on. And the good thing about that though is that you don't have to take them off to pee, because you're just
open
exposed.
a hole.
There's a hole there already. You're just totally exposed. Completely exposed. Like my bush was just out. Well, on that note, I'm Nagar Fanouni.
And I'm Erin Brown.
And this is Nasty Women Radio.
Today we thought we'd talk about different forms of activism in light of some recent really cool walkouts that we've seen at a couple of graduations. So the most recent one was Mike Pence at Notre Dame. Is that what the one we were talking about before?
It was yesterday or it was the day before. It was very recent.
Yeah. The part for me, being the white woman in this conversation, that I was like, for real, is there's this group of white girls that they show sitting there watching people walk out of the Mike Pence and they're like, oh my God, what? You can see their thought process. Yeah. Oh my God, why? What's happening? What's why are you so embarrassing?
No.
I don't mean to laugh, but come on. Do you really not know? Are you shocked? Is that your shocked face? The whole group of them just looks like, I have no idea why anyone would walk out right now. This is crazy.
Yeah, I know. The shock factor was a little extreme for me. I was like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
you could be like, oh shit, this is happening, you know?
Yeah.
But
Or
to be
I
like,
disagree would be
yeah,
fine. An I disagree face. I don't know what that looks like, but not like,
really?
what?
I
What?
no. No. I think really the probably the best move in that situation is just like a stoicism.
Yes.
You're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
That's all there is
Just
to
sit
it.
there. Just fucking
Yeah.
sit there and don't be
Just-
so fucking embarrassing.
So the cool thing about this particular walkout was that it was pre-organized. It was pre-planned. So it's a little bit different than the other one that happened recently. It wasn't a walkout, but it was like basically Betsy DeVos got booed
Yeah.
at Bethune-Cookman University, which I was booing her and I wasn't even there. So
just in general,
but
just sitting around
in general,
booing.
yeah. So she got booed big time. This one though was actually a pre-organized walkout, and what I noticed before I read about it was that a lot of the students that were walking out had like rainbow paraphernalia and different like gay activist type paraphernalia on their person, on their caps, or like one girl had like a rainbow cape on her cap and gown.
Yeah.
And then reading about it later, it was a student organization on campus called We Stand With You. And they organized it specifically to protest Pence's anti-gay rhetoric.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they walked out, and there were also people outside of the university protesting, and they walked out and joined that protest. And they were told specifically, they organized it via Facebook, which is what's really cool about social media, is that this is a new age of activism, right? It's a totally new age. They organized it via Facebook, and they said to walk out quietly but deliberately.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated, because you notice every one of those students that walked out, they were they were respectful in the way that they did it, right? They weren't like loud or disruptive, but they held their heads high and they walked out like with a purpose.
Right. And
So
to be clear, they could yell and do whatever too,
That'd
but that's how they specifically had organized it. Yeah.
That's just another way. That's how they organized it.
Yeah.
That's but it's just another way to do it. Booing is also great.
Also pretty awesome.
So great.
I liked watching her try to like figure out what to do with herself.
She was like trying, and then one of the faculty members came in and said, he said, if you keep doing this, your degrees will be mailed to you, saying that like they couldn't walk. And I was like, cool. I would be like, hell yeah. That's not a scare tactic that's going to work with me, or any scare tactic really. But like, if I was a student sitting in that audience, if I felt so compelled to boo this speaker threatening me with not walking across the stage,
right,
that's not going to work for me. I'm not going to abandon my values.
Well, and in these particular incidences, I think to speak to the group of young women who seem so confused, let me help you. We have unprecedented people in office right now. You know, Pence didn't just like say that he's not for gay marriage, which to me is hateful as well. But he like specifically is for those camps or whatever, the abuse places that they send people to try and make them not gay anymore, that we know are just abusive, that are just fucking awful, you know? So he like specifically wants to cure gayness of people. That's different than like, I don't agree with your tax plan. You know what I mean? That's like a big fucking deal. DeVos is wants to change things about education in ways that would affect everyone in a really, really negative way, unless you have a lot of money. So that's like the bottom 99% of the U.S. is going to struggle then.
Exactly. She also thinks that schools should have guns because of bears. So going back to her confirmation hearing, the argument about schools needing guns was to protect themselves from bears.
We don't have bears here. So.
Well, you know, and the school in question actually came out and said, like, actually, we have this spray that we use.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's got to be there's sounds I think you can, there's got to be options. I have, like, a jingle skirt that like I feel like
there are like other things you can do. So the point being that this is a really inflammatory time in America, and by
because we have really fucking inflammatory politicians, not because they're conservative or Republican or people just don't know how to not get what they want, but because these people are have terrible ideas that are really, really harmful to a lot of people. And that is different than, I have some nuanced disagreement in your tax policy.
Exactly.
It's very different.
Very different. And it's affecting, and it will affect a lot of people in this country on a very, very deep level. So I myself don't identify with any particular party and never have. I will gravitate towards whomever reflects my values, and this is one of those situations where I'm just like, if I were sitting in that audience and one of those, people in question, were to get up on that stage and be giving the speech at my graduation or at my kids' graduation, I would feel compelled to respond as well.
Yeah. Bye.
So we, because these types of both of these situations have been in the news and have been all across social media and have gotten coverage both in the negative and the positive realm. There are some people who are like, hell yes, stand up, like I'm with you, and then there are other news outlets that are like, this is disruptive. This is disrespectful. This is, another way. What do they like to say? They like to call us like liberal crybabies. Like there's like that whole, the rhetoric is that like, that it's,
I saw the best meme the other day about like crying because your team lost or whatever, that was referring to the use of the Confederate flag as being like the ultimate crying because your team lost. And I was like, kind of, yeah, that's the team that wants to be mad that people are upset right now and they're flying the flag from it.
It's over.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. And it's like, it's so... Can we just pause on that for a second? Like, I get if you're like proud that you're Southern, so like get a shirt that says Southern Pride or something. You know what I mean? But like this means something very specific about racism to a lot of people. So even if that's not what it means to you, like the swastika originally is like, it has a peaceful meaning in some Native American culture, and that's not what it means anymore.
It's a Tibetan symbol, actually. It's like a Tibetan
perfect
symbol, like yeah. But you can't use it like that anymore.
It got ruined, guys. It's ruined.
Somebody ruined it for you. I'm sorry. That's not your fault, but it's done. You can't use it anymore. It's
ruined.
Over. So, yes. Anyway, the point being that, there are still people saying like, oh, that this isn't the way. And it's like, okay, well, then what is the way?
Right.
If we can't get up and silently and deliberately walk out of a graduation ceremony because we don't agree with the values of the speaker, then what is the way? If we can't boo Betsy DeVos because we really just don't want to hear what she has to say because this is our school that we pay tuition to and this is our graduation, then what can we do? Right? So,
well, nothing unless it's conservative. And we've talked about that before, where you had written about your father's immigration story when the ban from primarily Muslim countries.
A Muslim ban. But it wasn't a Muslim ban.
Right. Okay. Okay. The ban that people think is a Muslim ban.
Seemingly Muslim ban.
But it wasn't really because something else. Anyway, fine. That thing was happening, and you wrote about it, and people were mad that you were talking about politics. And I said, but if you were talking about being a vet or something about God Bless America, which is both religious and political, you wouldn't get that same feedback. That's not talking about politics. So we have to be thoughtful about what we're calling political, and it's either everything or nothing. This is either it's personal, and so we have to get involved in politics because the personal is political, or it's just personal, and so I care about these things. But like, you don't get to say God Bless America, let's support the troops, and let's not talk about politics, because that's fucking talking about politics. And it's just that's like politics that conservative rich white people agree with. And so it's polite and obvious, whereas anything else is somehow distracting and disruptive and rude, and it's not. So there's lots of ways to get involved. And if you're not currently sitting at a graduation, which you probably aren't if you're listening to this podcast, we thought we'd talk about
you might be. And in that case, thank you for taking us with you to whichever graduation ceremony you happen to be.
Oh my God. I sat through my graduation ceremony, but I didn't graduate. I have my leather like binder thing that
with nothing in it.
That's like, you have 2 more classes to take. And I was like, but I already took the photos.
Right? It already happened.
Fine. I didn't take the classes though. So, one of the things, Planned Parenthood has a lot happening with right now. It's not completely been defunded yet. My understanding is that is still possible. You can get updates from Planned Parenthood via text. And the information about that is on their website, but I get their text messages and they will ask you to text a thank you to the volunteers somewhere, or to call your congressperson and ask for this specific thing. So that's one really easy way to get involved with an organization that you care about, is a lot of them have text updates now that have specific actions. So that's like giving your time, energy, talent, and resources to an existing organization, and figuring out a way that works best for you. So that's one option.
ACLU does a really good job with that as well, in terms of the same, like you said, giving your time and resources to an existing organization. You can go to aclu.org and you can sign up for their email updates, and they make it so easy for us to participate on a political level, on a policy level, because they'll send you these emails, they'll tell you what's going on, and they'll give you a link to go in and input your name and your email and your phone number, etc., to an already written email to your senator, your governor, whoever the case may be. So a lot of times, people say like, call your Congress people, and you're like, how the fuck am I supposed to even do that? Like, that's,
right.
You know what I mean? So it's
like on the phone, or
like, what does that mean? And I think, it does create a barrier for people. The fewer barriers that that people have to overcome in order to do something that's going to make a difference, the better. So the ACLU does a really good job of eliminating all those barriers. They send those emails right to your inbox. They're like basically daily, and they're like, this is the cause that we're working on right now. This is the link. Go ahead, put in your information, and you're automatically, that email goes to your senator, your congressperson, or you're automatically added to like whatever the petition is. And they just make it so easy for you. And they make it easy for you to share those links as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's like base level activism. Like, do it. It takes a couple seconds.
Yes, I think a really the most important parts of pieces of activism to me right now are both listening to how people are responding to current events and educating yourself. It's really freaking easy on social media, and if your social media feed is currently very homogenous, that is the first thing I would suggest you do, is go fix that. Like, there's no reason with social media. You can live in a place where everyone is exactly like you and understand and hear the perspectives of people from all over the world with all different varieties of viewpoints because of social media. So if you're not doing that, that's a problem. And I would actually sit with, like, why am I not following anybody whose perspective is different than mine? Why am I not hearing about issues that are not happening in my community? It's because you're not seeking them out. But also just like the very basic level of speaking up when somebody says some harmful shit. Like that's, you gotta find that in there. I think it gets easier the more you do it. I just had to do it at freaking Mother's Day dinner with my family.
But it's really hard when it's with your family.
It is, but I'm like, if I'm not going to have this conversation at the dinner table with my daughter sitting here, when do I think I'm going to have it?
When do I have it? And you know what? That actually brings up a really good. We had this question. I'm going to look in our Instagram DMs. Shameless plug at Nasty Women Radio on Instagram. And we got. And this is that's a great place for you to write in and let us know what you want to hear us talk about on the show, any input or feedback. We check these direct messages regularly, and we got one recently from someone who asked that very specific question about how do you respond to comments this was specifically with coworkers, when coworkers make these comments that are inflammatory, that are like bigoted comments, essentially. This one specifically was about transgender individuals. And this person is like, how do I speak up? What do I say? How do I navigate this situation that could, might not turn out well for me because these are people I have to work with every day, or, maybe it's your boss, or, maybe it could be anything, and if they're making comments that are, of a bigoted nature, and that really offend your values in some way, like, how would you recommend speaking up for that?
I just made a video about this on YouTube. It was actually like a month ago, but there's a video you can go watch on my YouTube channel. But the gist is, I recommend responding with a question about it, especially if a lot of times when somebody says something that's offensive, it's not exactly what they said, unless they say something they just start with the blatant bullshit. But most people don't. They say something that's like thinly veiled bullshit. And then what's exhausting about it is that then you have to connect all the dots for them. You have to go, well, that's offensive because underneath that you mean this and this and that, and by the time you're done, you're exhausted, they're defensive, and it's a mess. And I recommend skipping all of that and just asking them more questions. Like, let them dig themselves their own hole instead of you digging that for them. I wonder what you mean by that, and just like let them keep talking.
Yeah.
And then you can go, is that really what you think? And just like allow it to be about them and their behavior and their opinion, as opposed to a moment for educating them, because you can tell right away if somebody's interested in, hearing some perspective from you or not. And so I just assume the moment I feel the discomfort in my body, I hand it back to them by asking them to explain themselves. And usually that person's like, oh, well, because they know the problem with what they said. Yeah. And if every person who is running around saying awful things about other people was asked to explain themselves every day, they'd stop doing it. So to me, like, that's a really great place to start. And if they become defensive, you can keep asking questions like, did that make you defensive to have to talk about that more? I'm just trying to understand your perspective. It is offensive to me, or I feel like you're being disrespectful, and I don't appreciate that. It doesn't, but you don't have to like emotionally engage 100% to hand the discomfort you feel in your body back to the person who deserves it.
I like that. No, I think that's really great. I think that's a really great way of, standing in your truth, right? Because I think that's the serious thing, right? Is that when people say stuff like that, it's like we let it go because we know that we don't want the fight, right? Or because we know that probably nothing we say is going to change that person's point of view. Like, these are all the reasons why we like don't speak up, right? But if we don't speak up, we're also, not aligning with our own values.
And we're complicit in it.
And it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Well,
like,
and it doesn't that feel specific
good to be
one, a transgender person, it's somebody at her job or his job is talking about transgender people in a derogatory way. And so then the choice is, I can just be quiet and not deal with that because I'm not a person who presents as transgender, right? What does that mean for other people? So does that mean that you're only allowed to have that job and be uncomfortable in that job because you're not transgender? Right. I mean, like, there's always an element of privilege in the not speaking up. And if that is your only option for a job, I mean, I don't want to be like, so you just quit. Fuck it. Like, yeah. I get that there's more to life than figuring out how to handle these exact moments, but that's something to think about, What happens when that person is in the room then?
Yep.
And you've not said anything this entire time. Yeah, if it's not and for me, if it's not a safe place for everybody, I don't want it to be a place for me.
Exactly.
And so you can be a part of changing that conversation.
Yeah.
It's important. And the other thing that you said that I speak to as well about not necessarily thinking you'll change somebody's mind. I'm not necessarily looking to change somebody's mind every time.
Exactly.
Usually that's within the context of a relationship, within a friendship, then that's a different conversation and somebody's actually interested in your perspective. What I am able to do is make it a little bit more annoying, or even significantly more annoying, for them to show up with that perspective.
I love that. Well, because that's a form of activism, right? We're not just trying to change people's minds. That's not necessarily the case. But not speaking up makes it more appropriate for them to make those comments. They continue to operate under that privileged sort of sentiment that like, well, I can just say whatever I want because nobody's going to argue with me.
And they think you
Nobody's
agree with
going to.
them.
And I don't want that. I don't want anybody to think I agree with them on that bullshit.
No, every time there's another, the Orlando shooting was the most sad
Mhm.
recent example of this, where there's a mass shooting, and then they go back and they talk to coworkers and they talk to former partners and all these, and everybody knew that this guy was very homophobic. But then also there's information that he possibly was gay. And so in this scenario, it's particularly interesting because every time this happens, I think, how many people did this person interact with that they think agreed with them? How many people did this person think was standing behind them when they went and did this horrendous thing? Because nobody thinks that's their neighbor. You know what I mean? So like,
Nope.
what difference would it have made? And then for this guy in particular, who maybe was gay, needed somebody to say, I actually don't agree with you about gay people, which would tell him, I actually don't think you have to hate yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was a particularly heavy one for so many reasons. But like every time there's something like that, Dylan Roof. I'm like, how many people did this motherfucker talk to that disagreed with him, that just didn't want to deal with it, that didn't want to talk to him about it, that thought he was just weird? Like, and I don't know if they get to share blame or not. That's a bigger philosophical question. But for me, 100% of the time, I'm treating it like this might change something.
Mm-hmm.
And if all of us who care enough about making sure that it is like a safe place for people to walk around and be who they are started speaking up, it would be a much less safe place for people to be bigots. And
Absolutely.
that's what's possible. And that's where I would love to see, and women specifically, because I know we have a lot of conditioning around just being quiet all the time, speaking up, because for everyone that does it, it makes it easier for everybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you mentioned, there is a lot of conditioning around speaking up, because when we do speak up, it's like, you're a bitch, you're an angry feminist, you're a man hater,
Right.
It's usually a derogatory situation, right? For women to speak up. And I say, who cares? Right. I don't care if you think I'm a bitch. I don't care we just talked about this recently. I went off on a guy on Twitter. And I was like, you caught me on the wrong day, motherfucker.
He really did.
He really did. He really did. And, you don't get to come at me with your sexist sarcasm and
Right.
think that because I'm a woman that I'm going to be quiet and complicit and submissive. I'm going to stand the fuck up, and I'm going to show you why that kind of rhetoric is not okay, not just on my feed, but in the world in general.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stand up for that. And he didn't engage, and he blocked me, which I don't know if that's a win. But what I can say is that I feel really confident with the way that I stood up for my beliefs and aligned with my values, and didn't allow that comment to to have any place in my feed and in my world, in my space. This is my space. You want to come into my space with your sexist fucking sarcasm? Guess what? I'm not gonna back down.
I imagine I will, like 99%, because there's all, like, I can't know all the things, but I imagine you at least made it a little bit more annoying for him to be sexist.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it made it a little.
Nailed it.
Because here's the thing: just because he didn't change his mind, just because he didn't respond and go, shit, you know what? You're right. Thank you for calling me out. Like, that does happen, actually. Yeah. It does happen. Yeah. But just because that didn't happen in this situation, guess what? This guy had to go out of his way. I probably fucked up his day in some way, where he was just like, ooh, and then he had to block me. So he had to he had to insulate himself.
Yeah.
From my opinion, from my activism.
Poor guy.
And that's fine. To me, like, that's, I did my part.
Well, and in that scenario, so say you're standing up about something, and somebody then says you're just an angry bitch or whatever. Online is a totally different scenario. Online, I would be done with that conversation. You know what I mean? And he blocked you. You're done. You're not going to go find another way to find him. Like,
no, it's over.
It's over. But in person, I talked to somebody recently who this was happening with their husband's friends were making some sexist remarks, and then and in that sort of scenario, if they come back and say, oh, you're just angry, or feminism's got to you or whatever, then especially if you're anxious, go back to the question thing. Is that really what you think of me? I'm really disappointed that that's what you've reduced me to. You know what I mean? Like, just go back and ask more questions about their behavior, which feels so much better than just like, I'm not. I'm just,
you don't have to defend
yourself. Like,
you don't have to defend yourself.
I'm really disappointed that that's what you think of me. You know, like, whatever. Something else that's just putting the onus of the behavior back on that person. And it's so much easier to keep your own emotional cool, which however you want to deal with your own emotions is great. But for me, as much as I can stay intact in those scenarios, the more I feel like the one that's actually in power and control of the conversation. Yes. Because typically the other person, ignorance doesn't hold water. So typically the other person eventually is going to get super defensive and throw their hands in the air and say nasty things about you. And so long as I'm not losing my cool, then it's not like two fools arguing from a distance or whatever. It's like, here's a person who's losing their mind, and I'm just standing here like, is that what you think? Is that
really?
Me?
Yeah.
Is that how your brain works?
What it really comes down to, and I think that this is really important in all forms of activism, is that you never need to apologize for or defend yourself for being a tolerant, compassionate person who values human beings as a whole, right, and who disagrees with social injustice and micro and macroaggression. That is not something that you ever have to apologize for, nor do you have to defend yourself for being someone who aligns with those values.
Right.
Ever.
The other thing, and I make videos about this kind of stuff on a regular basis, but the other thing that you can do that I like to do on a regular basis is walk people right to the answer, so that if they're going to disagree with me, they have to go out of their way to do it. So to be like, I know it's really important to you to use really inclusive language, and so I wouldn't, whatever. I wouldn't say what you just said, or I would reconsider blah, blah, blah in the future, because, people really do take that as racist. And then if they're going to disagree with you, they have to walk themselves completely out of it. Like, well, I don't care if I'm being, you've been like, I know that you are a caring person
right,
who cares about this, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm asking this of you because you are a person who cares about this kind of thing. And then they have to come out and say, I don't care about that. And then you're in a completely different conversation. Oh, well, our values are very different. And if you are in power in a situation like that, if it's at a job where you can get rid of a person, that's the kind of thing I would start talking about. Rachel Blackgraves, friend of mine, Rachel, I love her. You aren't allowed to go to her gym if you say harmful shit about people, because it's a safe community. And so she will kick you out. And she's kicked several grown men out of her space. I 100% respect that. And if I come into your space and that kind of stuff is allowed, I'm looking to the leadership. Like, okay, so this is what you're into. Like, let's be accountable to that kind of stuff. Let's make it really difficult to be a bully, and we can do that one little drip at a time.
Absolutely.
There's one in particular that I'm following right now in terms of my own activism. The Violence Against Women Act is set to be up in 2018, and it's something that is renewed and is unlikely to be renewed under Trump. And so the big implications of that, are really big. But the community shelter in my area that takes in people who are victims of domestic violence, and they help them get on their feet again. They also deal with sex trafficking in the area. So it's a really important fixture of our community. They are 100% grant funded from the Violence Against Women Act. And so if it is not renewed in 2018, then we will not have a shelter, and we will have no resources for victims of sex trafficking in my community. So I'm working with them to do fundraising. I'm, on their list to make sure that I'm constantly aware of what's happening with that. But that's another thing you can do, and that one in particular, if that speaks to you, look for domestic violence shelters in your area and see how you can get involved. But plugging into something locally will also let you know what's happening nationally in a way that affects you and your community personally, which a lot of times is a really great place to get involved on a local level with something that matters to you.
Yep. Yeah, so volunteering is huge, right? That just costs you your time, doesn't cost you any money. So that's one option, and there are so many different organizations you can volunteer with. You can actually go to volunteermatch.org and you can put in your, where you are locally, your geographic location, as well as the types of causes that you are interested in volunteering for. So they've got all different types of causes. There's women's rights, there's queer rights, there's ones that are like more geared towards race. There's all these different social justice opportunities. And so you can type that in, just kind of plug that in where you are, what you're interested in volunteering for, and they will give you a list of different opportunities in your area that you can just show up and volunteer, So that's one way to really do that. And they make it really easy. This is the thing, right? It's like, the internet makes it really easy for us to figure out ways to show up.
Yeah.
So that's one way. And volunteering is not your thing. Like, you don't have to feel shame or pressure if like that's not a thing that you like to do. There are lots of other ways to show up, but that's one way to show up.
Yeah.
It's by volunteering your time.
So donating would be another thing that would be really of the moment in terms of cleaning up your space and decluttering, right? What's that lady that has the book that everybody's reading right now?
Oh, is that the one about tidying up?
Yes, the magic of tidying or something.
The life-changing magic of tidying up.
I have.
I
clearly have not read that. Yeah, but we both have like tiny spaces, and I don't know if you have a lot of stuff. I don't recall.
You can't have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you can't. Like I'll see a vase I want, and I'm like, well,
nope.
I have 0 places to put a vase, so can't.
If I buy new clothes, I have to the rule for me is that if for every new thing I buy, I have to get rid of something else.
That's what I was doing. That's why I was at the consignment store today, because I was getting rid of summer clothes that I don't like or don't fit. Anyway, you can do that and then be specific about where you donate that. And a lot of times domestic violence shelters are accepting all kinds of things, including maxi pads, tampons, really important in a lot of spaces. So there's all kinds of things that you can think of in terms of donating resources if you have them. Money, of course, is applicable in all kinds of spaces. And then I'm actually not opposed to social media activism, obviously. I mean, that's what we both do in terms of making art. But a lot of people will be like talking about keyboard activists. And I'm like, well, but also you're starting important conversations. I think that it feels better to find something with humans you can theoretically touch next to you, to do something in person, to donate something, to volunteer, to, find something where there's other people.
Right.
And you're not just at home, because sometimes that kind of activism can feel isolating, or it just doesn't, I don't know. So I'm not, but I want to be clear. I think that that's a legit form of activism.
I do too.
If you're able to even to do a march, to attend some sort of organization, workshop, do anything that's also in person, I think that it feels more
connected.
Satisfying. Yes.
Yeah, there's some connection factor for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Same reason why you want to go to Target sometimes and not just shop online.
You want to touch things. Sometimes you want to touch things. You want to try them. You want to try clothes on before you buy them. I get it. You want to see how it works. But again, that doesn't invalidate, digital forms of activism. So there's basically what our aim here is to present all these different opportunities for activism and let you know that one isn't better than the other or, more important than the other. What matters is that you find a way that's both authentic to you and your values and how you show up in the world and you're able to do.
Yeah, I had to stop turning up to organizations because there's a couple in town, one in particular that I was like, I should be attending these meetings, and then I thought to myself, I finally was like, okay, I'm going to go. It's actually working out with my schedule. I'm going to go to this meeting. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, I'm going to go to this meeting and I'm going to tell them I cannot sign up for a fucking thing. So why am I going? I'm going so that I can be in attendance. Why am I doing this? So I think being honest about your time and resources, but also your values, what is important to you, because it is entirely possible that you can find some things to donate as your spring cleaning. It's entirely possible that maybe you could add an organization or add yourself to a mailing list that you're actually going to follow up with. There is time and space to make for this. And so I don't want to pressure people, and I also don't want to not,
Right.
Because if you're just nothing, I'm busy.
No,
So
everybody's busy.
yeah,
Everybody's busy. So here's the thing. You either have money or you have time or you have a voice. You
right,
have something. You
right,
have something to offer. So if you're looking at the current, state of affairs, either locally, in terms of like your neighborhood or your country that you live in, your state that you live in as a whole, or even globally,
yeah,
whatever the case may be, you're looking at the local or global state of affairs, and there's something that you're just like, I can't, I don't want to live in a world
yeah,
where it's acceptable, where violence against women is acceptable, where racism is, rampant and common, where transgender people cannot feel safe in
right,
their own bodies, walking down the street. Like, that's not okay with me. I don't want that. There is something that you can do.
right.
Um,
And within
and
that something, there's something digitally, there's something financially, there's something
exactly.
resources, there's some, there's plenty of things you can read about it so that when you speak up, you know what you're talking about. There's all kinds of options. And so
Educating yourself is a form of activism.
it is.
Educating yourself on the topics, on the facts, and talking to people with whom, let's say it's a cause that doesn't affect you. Like if you're not transgender, and you're standing up for transgender rights, for example, or if you're a man and you're standing up for women's rights, whatever the case may be, talk to people who are actually marginalized in that regard. Hear their stories, and try to the best of your ability to understand what it's like to live in their bodies.
Yeah. And again,
That
online gives you all of those options. So you don't have to
yes,
like go to, because that's happening as people are going to people and being like, tell me about the
yeah,
blackness you experience, which is like not a good idea. So there are people who have already done that for you all over the
yes.
internet
People are
and
telling
do
their
that.
stories.
Yes.
Yes. People are telling their stories. So one thing that you can do is when somebody tells you their story, listen and believe them.
Yes.
Right? Believe that that's
Huge.
their experience, and try to the best of your ability to empathize with the fact that like that is their experience, and ask how you can show up for people, asking those questions, asking how can I show up. How you spend your money is also another way that you can show up. Like,
Right.
I actually just filmed a video about this that'll be showing up later this week on my YouTube channel. But my most recent tattoo, I specifically sought out this artist that I absolutely love their work. They are an artist who's gender non-conforming, they're non-binary. And I absolutely love their work. And the space in which they work is a studio in Portland that titles itself as women and queer owned, and is a safe space for people who align with those values.
Yeah.
So for anyone in the queer community, for women who also respect that community
Yeah.
and show up for that community. So for anyone who doesn't feel safe necessarily walking into a tattoo studio as a woman, or as a gay individual, or a transgender individual, or a gender nonconforming individual, this is a safe space for you. And the artists will support that, and there's a mutual respect. And so like I specifically went to Portland to support this artist, because if I'm going to be putting ink on my body, which I absolutely am and I love, the tattoo industry is a very heavily male dominated, heterosexually male dominated industry. It is, which is interesting when you consider the fact that tattoos are so taboo and fringe and like,
Right.
like not conservative.
Right.
It's interesting to me that that's a thing, but that's the truth. That's the way things are. And so, I have tattoos done by male artists, and I love them and I support those artists, and they're great. So it's not like an anti, male rhetoric, but it is like, hey, the people who are marginalized in this industry are the ones who I want to go out of my way to support.
Yeah.
And that's a way that I can show up for that marginalized community and for that individual specifically. And so that's something that you can do. You can support local businesses. You can support female-owned businesses, queer-owned businesses, businesses owned by people of color. Like these are other ways. The way that you spend your money is also how you show up. And listen, we're not saying eliminate, supporting all multi-billion-dollar corporations, because we
Do
can't
what you
all
can. Yeah.
You do what you can. Like, listen, would I love to live in the woods and live off the land and like never support like, big corporate companies? Sure. But that's not realistic for me. And that's not a thing that I'm going to stress myself out over. But what I can do is I can go out of my way to support female owned businesses and locally owned businesses and marginalized individuals in their art and in their work.
Yeah. And not support spaces that actively go out of their way to not support causes you care about. I really, really miss Chick-fil-A sandwiches. It's the only fast food that I'm super into, actually. And those pickles. Oh my
I know.
God. And their customer service is so on point. And first they were like anti-gay marriage, and then they started Back the Blue as a backlash to Black Lives Matter. And
Yeah.
like, okay, well, no chicken sandwiches for me.
I know.
So that's also a form of activism. I don't get to eat my tasty sandwiches, and I wish that they would have not done that. But
Yeah.
but they did. And so no tasty sandwiches for
So
me.
that's just, and that's something that you can do. Like if you decide that, you don't agree with Walmart's politics and you're like, that's not a place I can shop, then that's a thing that you have to do. But again, if you live in a rural environment where that is your only option for buying the things that you need to buy for your family, like then that's something that you have to do. So these are personal decisions that you need to make as an individual, right?
Yeah.
And understand that like there's feeling shame and feeling pressure and feeling paralyzing exhaustion in activism are not things that benefit anyone.
No.
They are not feelings or behaviors that benefit anyone. So when you feel shameful about like supporting one company and not supporting another, or not showing up for every cause, or taking an Uber, or
Right.
Using Amazon Prime, like whatever the case may be, like that doesn't actually help anybody.
Right.
So that's just something to consider.
Yeah. So figure out how you're going to do that makes sense to you. Allow that to continue to evolve. Again, to me, 100% most important is that you use your voice in ways that are safe, obviously, for you to, but with like a thought process that also includes what is my relative privilege to this situation, but as simple as saying, I disagree, and I'm not interested in having this conversation with you. You can even cut things off like that, but I disagree. Like just stepping out.
Yeah.
Even in that small way. And outside of that, what are you able to do? What can you do? What's most important to you to do? And then try to let go of like, I definitely have had those moments where I see somebody doing something online and I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that very specific thing right now. I should feel terrible about that. And that's not useful to anybody. Me sitting around feeling guilty does not help anyone. In fact, that could specifically be harmful if that prevents me from doing anything positive. And I just allow that to illuminate for me. Is that a cause that I would like to get involved with? Do I have time and energy or resources to devote to that particular thing? Or is this something that I just need to add to my list of, reading that I do? Like how am I going to be involved in this particular thing? Because here I do very little for animals in my town.
I don't do anything for animals.
And I think animals are great.
I have animal. Yeah.
I want an animal. I'm working on my husband right now because he doesn't want a dog. I want a dog so bad. But I don't do anything for animal causes currently.
And that's okay.
From eat less meat than I might.
Right.
And that's okay.
And you probably don't wear real fur.
I do, but only vintage. I feel like there's a
vintage. It's
loophole.
It's already been made.
Yeah, now I feel like it's honoring the animal. It shouldn't just be in a landfill. Yeah. It's environmentalism.
It's true, actually. Right? What are you gonna do? It's already made. It's like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I think that's a very real concern that a lot of people face, where they feel like the pressure to show up for lots of different causes or show up in lots of different ways, and then there becomes this feeling of like anxiety and urgency around activism, and it doesn't actually serve anyone. So actually a really good read for anyone who is like looking to get involved in activism and really just wants to also take care of themselves and do things in a way that serves causes, Rules for Radicals is a really great book to pick up and just kind of get some, some sort of structure and some sort of how to, and like how to show up as an activist and not exhaust yourself so that you're not actually showing up for the causes.
Right. Perfect. Do you. Yeah. We will link some of those resources below, but whether that is digitally or volunteering or, speaking up every chance you get, I hope that you do, listening to other voices, marginalized voices, people that have different perspectives than you, regardless of how you show up. We're thankful that you're listening to us as a part of your little resistance, and we're thankful for the work that you choose to do, because none of us can do it all. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening. And
thank you. And sharing this podcast, by the way, is a
form of activism. Check that.
Sharing Nasty Women Radio, subscribing, writing a review, leave us some feedback, share it with your friends, share it with your family. That is something that you can do in just a few seconds that is a form of activism. So Thank you for doing that.
You can feel so good about it. Okay. See you next week.